Thank you, everyone, for participating. This is another Wellness Wednesday. Carrying on with the theme, which is from last 2 weeks, I talked a lot about melatonin, which is one of the first creams I made. I hope everyone can reference that when I reference it, and I'll try to keep in a sequence. And in the sequence here, what I want to go through are the three products that are in what we call at Nutra Relief the sleep kit. So it consists of three creams specifically, but that's why we can talk on the Wellness Wednesday about which creams work with other creams. Why would we put them in a kit? Because they're cofactors together and they do different things when they work together. And in the circumstance here of following up with melatonin, is that it's about sleep protocols. And if you remember from 2 weeks ago, we talked all about the benefits of the molecule of melatonin and what it does in such a marvelous molecule for skin, hair, nails, and free radical scavenger. And it does something very specific, which is getting you to sleep. But that's just part of the equation. We talked about a number of different things associated with what deep sleep does. I'll touch on those again. But the second part of the trifecta, I call it, which is the kit, there are three different creams because people have different issues when they sleep. And 80% of the population has sleep issue, whether it's insomnia, whether it's difficulty getting to sleep, staying to sleep, restless leg syndrome, or high levels of anxiety when they sleep, perhaps. And they wake up intermittently and they can't get a deep sleep, which is so important for our health and well-being, just completely part of, I think, one of the axes of health. If you're not getting good sleep, you are deteriorating, I think, on a daily basis. And I'm non-functional without sleep. I mean, that's kind of why I started this. So tonight, we're going to talk about the second cream in the kit, or the trifecta, I call it, because in all the years that I've been working with the different creams that I've created, 38 different formulations I have. I'm only really marketing in the clinical line 12 because they're kind of creams that unless I'm marketing them, unless I'm really working with them, some are so esoteric. We can talk about that. But these 12 are the basic for a lot of functional health. But tonight I want to talk about the Gaba L-Theanine. And this is the beautiful blue bottle. If that's blue, I'm somewhat colorblind, but I think it's kind of blue. Is that, would you say that's blue? I think it is. And it's Gaba L-Theanine. Mental balance is also the tagline that we have on this cream. And the reason I consider this as part of the sleep protocol is that a lot of time people with sleep not being able to get back to sleep or awakening from sleep, or get up during the evening for whatever particular reason, whether you're going to the bathroom and you're just making a pit stop and getting back to sleep. A lot of people have the issue of where you've activated the mind, whether you've turned on a light and now you've got stimulation from the light and now you feel like you're awake and I really want to go back to sleep. It's not necessary, and nor would I recommend taking more melatonin. If you took your melatonin before you went to bed, maybe a half hour, 15 minutes before you went to bed, you've got plenty of melatonin in your system, on your face, wherever you put it, to get you into that circadian rhythm, which will basically take you to sleep. The issue is when you wake up and then you want to get back to sleep. So wonderful, wonderful things about Gaba L-Theanine is this is really a stress regulator. And that's what's so important. GABA, a lot of people don't necessarily understand GABA, what that is. And these are neurotransmitters. This is part of the nootropic series of, if I was to break down a number of the Nutra Relief creams, we have a number of nootropics, meaning they work specifically because they penetrate the blood-brain barrier and they're activated within the brain. So they're actually capable of servicing the function of brain activity in many different ways. GABA is called, for its abbreviation for GABA, gamma aminobutyric acid. That is what the standing of GABA stands for. And it's a natural occurring neurotransmitter chemical messenger in your brain that acts as an inhibitory signal. And its role is really to slow down your central nervous system by blocking specific signals that create that active mind at night. You know, the mind is not a place at night that I think I have ever really solved the problem. Mostly it's just kind of going around and around and revisiting the thought pattern, and you're caught up in maybe over and over again, but not really necessarily coming to a solution. You might come up to a solution in the morning in the clear light that you basically said, now that, you know, I got that clarity, but a lot of times it'll keep you up at night and you're just kind of going around and around, or stress related thoughts, or worry, or a lot of things that are going on in our lives right now. So this cream is one of my favorite creams because I use this cream not only at night, but I use it during the day, and it regulates my emotional state of hyperactivity or getting overexcited, or, as I always use, is my relationship with Kesey, in that we sit directly next to each other in the office here and working side by side 24/7 every day. It's a natural reaction for me to maybe disagree with her once in a while. And so in that case, I kind of always want to make sure that I'm got, you know, a sensitivity about it, that she's got a very good point of view and I'm accepting and open to her point of view at all times, as a husband should be with his wife, of course. But what's good is it controls that overactivity or that knee-jerk reaction of thinking that, you know, I'm overreacting. I'm overreacting to something that someone could say to you. Same with phone, if you're a phone working on your phone, or activity at work. So during a daytime, during your relationship with people, it's really wonderful in how it works because, you know, as I indicated, it's a neurotransmitter. What it does is it calms out the overactivity of the brain in its reaction to fight or flight. We've heard that before. That's usually typical of adrenaline kicking in. You are just overwhelmed by that, and your reaction to that is serious, fight or flight in that case. And in the case of, you know, wanting to calm yourself down, it's so beneficial, but not in a way that I think is, you know, hypnotic, or it's just on a stress reliever, which is so wonderful during the nighttime, because as I would go back to sleep, this was the main issue of my sleep deprivation all my life, was this waking up at 2:30, 2:31, 2:32, these minutes right at that same time. Just this wave of how we sleep, the pattern. I'd wake in the middle of the night, and that would be the time in where a lot of people go through in depression or in stress. They're alone, and this is where the difficult thoughts, these 3 T's I talked about, as far as trauma and thoughts and toxins. This is where you can do a lot of damage to yourself and allowing your thoughts to run away and, you know, create a lot of stress for you. And just in this day and age, to have a topical cream like this, rather than Xanax or these psychotic drugs that so many folks are using for trying to calm themselves down, the pharmaceuticals that they get themselves on, the stressors. This is a very simple amino acid that is no toxic level of it, that can be utilized to calm the active mind. And I really like it because by slowing down the central nervous system and blocking a lot of these counter signals to your brain, it gives you just that smooth get back to sleep potential that you have for the rest of the evening. And what's really wonderful about it is that it is a supplement that is naturally produced by the body, and it doesn't struggle to get across the blood-brain barrier. Now, if you take Gaba, L-Theanine orally, it does not go through the blood-brain barrier. This is kind of one of the beauties of the Liposomal Delivery Technology, which is LDT, which is part of every one of the creams that we sell in the Nutra Relief line, that we're using that liposomal to go through the skin specifically, and in the circulatory capacity through diffusion, it's able to go through the blood barrier in its absorption and metabolism through the skin. So it's really beneficial the way it works that way. I like this. I like this because it's a stress regulator in terms of stress regulation and a primary inhibitory and neurotransmitter. It's acting like a brake pedal is the way I like to use it. So from overstimulation. Out here in Palm Desert, I do a lot of consulting with the Parkinson's Institute through Eisenhower. And we're seeing that the Gaba L-Theanine is really utilized in helping folks that are in with Parkinson's, stopping them from cascading into the severe progression of Parkinson's. It's helping people with Alzheimer's in terms of that progression of Alzheimer's. And it's also helping with early dementia. And a lot of times with the issues with functions or misfunction of the brain, or the tau proteins you've been hearing about, the buildup of tau proteins that people are thinking the cause of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, it's really the overactivity of the brain acting and creating these proteins that are stopping the perfect function of the brain signaling. And so what's beneficial is that the Gaba L-Theanine actually calms that overactivity that can stimulate the progression of Alzheimer's, early dementia, and that cascading effect of Parkinson's. So I think that's a really important point, that is so effective. So this is really a wonderful de-stressor. And once again, I have to say, as far as parents of children that you find are overactive, attention deficit, they're not performing in school, they're overactive, they've got issues with the teacher with not paying attention. I've got some wonderful testimonials for parents and children that the parents have utilized this as kind of a, as they go out the door, they rub a little on their wrists. And the teachers are really amazed, and the students themselves, in terms of their focus and attention with when they have things like, say, they're on the spectrum or attention deficit, but also beneficial for my veterans for post-traumatic stress. My veterans absolutely love this product in lieu of having some kind of pharmaceutical that's basically trying to calm them down from their post-traumatic stress or their trauma that they've experienced. So anyone that that is suffering from trauma or having issues specifically with psychotic activity or inability to sleep, and they may say they don't like melatonin, or they haven't used it before. I've had people that do have issues with melatonin for whatever particular reason, but just maybe gabapentin alone is that gateway for them. Because all I'm concerned with in offering these topicals is that I have, if it's not the one solution or the second solution to calm the mind down, the third solution could be the magnesium citrate, which is the trifecta that we've talked about. And I'll go into that in the next 2 weeks in terms of how this works in this application for my athletes that work out at night and their body is, jacked from all of the exercise they've done, or they've got restless muscles or restless leg syndrome specifically. So all of these factors are disruptive in the sleep process, because my whole agenda and what I've always thought was one of the, I think the hallmarks of Nutra Relief as one of the functionality of these functional creams is I do have a sleep solution, and it's not a pharmaceutical, or it's not an Ambien. I've got so many clients that are trying to get off of these products that are even over the counter, that they just don't feel that it's effectively giving them to deep sleep. And that's typically the case with some of them. They actually don't allow you to get to the REM sleep in the way that they work. They actually are not giving you that clean sleep that we talked about when I talked about that glymphatic role of the brain. I don't want to get too technical, but I love talking about the glymphatic system of the brain. A new study that just recently came out is they're actually having the ability to watch the brain now with, the MRIs, that they're able to study the brain. And, when they put certain dyes in and they're watching the activity of the brain, they're actually now have been able to watch the glymphatic system wash the brain at night during REM sleep and deep sleep to prove that this is literally the washing machine that's happening at night with the sleep cycle. So the effectiveness of getting that deep sleep, continuing to sleep during the night, is so healthy in that what this washing does is literally it's taking out the garbage. It's taking out what we used to call, or Jung, the imagery of your sleep is trying to tell you something. It's really like telling you something that it's taking the garbage out. There's no more room for you to get new information. And as we're always learning this day and age, I mean, one of the things, my hallmark of, I think, working and my research is I love learning. I love always learning new things about the functions of the body, the functions of how my cream and the new creams that we're working on. What are the cofactors? And if I'm unable to have this comprehension, or basically have, as I get older, the cognition, there's nothing worse than getting old and losing your cognition, your ability to really learn. And if we can constantly learn, we're growing. I think that's the biggest part of life, is that we're interacting, we're having social interaction, but we're learning from others, and we're loving the experience of being alive. But there's nothing worse than the exhaustion of not having the sleep. So I pride myself in being able to solve almost anyone's sleep issue. If it's not the one, it's the other, or it's a conjunction of all three. But in analyzing people's sleep patterns, sometimes it's a protocol, sometimes it's sleep hygiene, it's the exposure to light, TV, but all of these things basically end up becoming a solution. And, or it can be not enough of melatonin. You just dialed it in to get the right amount of melatonin. A little bit wasn't enough, or it was too much. I was too groggy. But together with the Gaba L-Theanine as a calming of the monkey mind, active mind, this is a big part of getting back to sleep and getting back to that REM deep sleep cycle, so that you're getting that cleaning of the brain, the washing machine of those thoughts, clearing out the mind, allowing you to wake refreshed in the morning to get more information. And this is healthy for the cascading effect of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, early dementia, that we have this cognition that is a healthy reaction from deep sleep. And so that's what's so important for that. Relaxation without drowsiness, that's the other thing. It is a sleep aid, but it can, some people say, wow, I actually felt drowsy, but that's not the function of the GABA L-theanine. The GABA we talked about, the gamma butyric acid, but the other element, the other amino acid, is the L-theanine. And that L-theanine is a derivative of green tea. We're all aware of the green tea and the calming effect that the green tea have. That is another amino acid. There's also a nootropic that is so effective for the calming sensation. So the GABA will stop the overexcitement, and the L-theanine kind of offers this just flat line of just calming activity of a green tea. It's a synergistic sleep support too. While each can work alone, research indicates that combining them significantly decreases the time it takes to fall asleep, and increases total sleep duration compared to taking either one individually, meaning the GABA and together L-theanine. People will take those as supplements individually. So I combine those two as a cofactor in the GABA L-theanine in one cream to have that effect. So once again, beneficial for sleep, but also beneficial for a calming aid for attention deficit, post-traumatic stress, and for just functionality, to keep you kind of just on your game, just level out. Mood and cognitive support can boost levels of other calming chemicals like serotonin and dopamine. It will increase that benefit of dopamine, the feel-good hormone that's created, and that's a reaction. When paired with caffeine, it's kind of interesting. It's particularly effective at maintaining focus while reducing the jitters often caused by stimulants. So, I'm a coffee guy. I'll get up and get going with coffee in the morning, but I'm limited to 2 cups. Otherwise, I do get that kind of sensation. But I have noticed that this is my morning protocol. I put a good amount of GABA L-theanine every morning just to keep me focused onto my to-do list, along with the B12. as also a brain fog clearing. So this is really kind of the benefits of that specifically. Some people have asked me, and this kind of made the last point I'll cover, unless there's questions specifically, that a lot of people wanted to know, another product they tend to get confused with is the gabapentin. A lot of people maybe might have been on that pharmaceutical gabapentin, and that is, it doesn't work at all in the same way. It doesn't work in way the GABA as just a nootropic does in this pharmaceutical combination. And so it's just different. It's not what we do. And people, they do different things for your system, the brain function, and it's a pharmaceutical prescriptive product. So it's nothing to like. Because I've had people that have told me they were on gabapentin and will never do it again because of the side effects specifically. So just wanted to close on that. It's distinctly different. So it's kind of just, that's it. It's kind of simple on this one. Try to keep it simple because I like to see if there's any feedback specifically on it.